All right, what's up, my brothers? In this video, I want to talk about a woman's panic years. I had a video brought to my attention earlier this week where a woman made a TikTok video announcing that she's in her quote-unquote panic years at the age of 28. And I want to play this video for you guys and offer some context because I see loads of women put themselves in this situation thinking that they've got lots of runway ahead of them, a lot of time, when they don't. So let me play this for you and we'll have a quick conversation about a woman's panic years.
I'm a 28-year-old woman and I'm currently in my panic years. Panic years are the ages from 28 to 35 as a woman where you have to decide, do you want kids, do you want to focus on your career, or do you want none of those things? And for me, I've always wanted kids, I've always wanted to be a mom, but at the moment, I'm just not ready. So I've been focusing on my career, but at the same time, everyone around me is having kids, getting married, settling down, and I'm kind of just getting started and I just want to keep traveling and having fun. And the thing is, being a woman, you do have a body clock, don't care what anyone says. And you also think, do I want to be an old mum? Do you know what I mean? Like, or do I want to be a young mum, like if I had kids right now? So yeah, it's definitely a stressful time, but I just want to keep traveling and having fun for a few years until I'm in my 30s, and then I'll probably decide.
All right, well, let's have a conversation about a woman's panic years. I guess the first thing that should be said is that she said from 28 to 35, and I think she's not being realistic with the time frame. She thinks that 28 to 35 is a range, but a lot of women push it into their 40s, if we're being honest. If you've been single on dating apps and you're a more seasoned gentleman, you've seen lots of women in their late 30s and even 40s, maybe even mid 40s, saying that they want children, that they're open to children, that they like the idea of children. Only it's never really a good idea. She talked about her body clock, which essentially, the translation in North American English is the biological clock ticking, and women hear it. She said in the video that she's known for a long time that she wanted to have kids, that she's been focusing on her career, that she's aware of her biological clock ticking, and she'll revisit it later on down the road as if she has all the time in the world. The truth of the matter is that time really moves a lot faster than we're aware of. One thing that I've noticed as more seasoned gentlemen now is that the older you get, the faster time seems to fly. Your teen years and your 20s even seem to take forever, but once you've moved into your 30s and 40s and onwards, time does seem to move a lot faster, and you don't seem to have as much time as you think you do. And that's just the way that it is. Women's biological clocks are very different from men's. There's lots of men out there that have capably fathered children well into the autumn years of their lives. There's some big names out there that I can think of, like Robert De Niro in the acting world, Mick Jagger, a lot of these big names out there that are in their 60s, 70s, even 80s that have fathered children even at that age. A lot of people argue that the sperm quality, blah, 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 isn't as healthy, and there's probably some truth to that, but the truth of the matter is you don't see 7-year-old women having children, but a 7-year-old guy does get away with it. And that's just one of those double standards that does exist, that women may not like, that may seem somewhat inconvenient, but hey, don't get mad at the truth. It is a truth. It is what it is. If you have a problem with the facts, the problem isn't with the facts. And I think that one of the facts that women get incredibly wrong is they think that they have way more time than they think that they do, and that prioritizing career and travel, aka partying, really is a good use of their time, and they can always put it off and deal with it later. They hear these notions, and you hear radio ads. We have a radio ad that plays here in Toronto on one of the stations that talks to women about IVF, and you can have a baby, and the cost is very reasonable, blah, blah, blah. I know quite a few guys that have wifed up or invited late 30s, early 40-year-old women in their lives that haven't had kids, that were so desperate to have children that they've gone through several rounds of IVF, in vitro fertilization, costing them upwards of $60,000 to $70,000 for a child. And you're not guaranteed a healthy, perfect child. They say that they can do some things, but geriatric pregnancies from medical professionals, a lot of them start saying, we're concerned about geriatric pregnancies after the age of 35. And there's loads and loads of women out there over 35 that are like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to be a mom now. A lot of them do it. I've seen lots of women in their early 40s pull it off. What's the state of the child? Do they have the energy to take care of it? Does the kid have a learning disability, a learning disorder? Are they on the spectrum? I don't know. They never announce those things. They just announce, oh, I had a successful pregnancy, or boom, hey, look at me, I've got a baby. I don't know if that's a success metric. Having a baby isn't just a success metric, but having a useful adult that you've contributed to society, I would suggest, is more of a success metric. There's an entire community of women out there. They have an acronym for it, but the long version is Single Mom by Choice, SMBC or something like that. I mean, it's not really by choice. It's kind of like single mom by process of elimination, because they weren't able to lock a guy down and they waited too long, so they use a sperm bank or some version of that. They got a gay best friend or something like that, whatever it happens to be, and they manage to pull off becoming a mom. And it's like, have you produced, or are you producing, a useful, contributing member of society that can stand on his or her own 2 feet, that makes good life choices and decision and does well in life? And there's all these other problems that come with that we can talk about in a different video. But I think really what this boils down to is that women got to stop lying to themselves. They got to stop telling each other, you go girl, you got all the time in the world, do it at whatever age, so-and-so did it, I've seen such and such do it, there was this celebrity that did it, wahoo, yeehaw, and all that sort of stuff. And they sort of pat themselves on the back, and it's like they're loving the smell of their own farts here. Not a good idea. The other angle of that too is when you prioritize short-term fun, and I've heard some guys in the space talk about women either prioritize career or travel. I see a combination of both. I see women prioritizing career and travel fun. I'm going to use travel/fun in the same category. And the real translation of travel/fun is promiscuity. It's going out with a whole bunch of dudes and having a lot of fun and having short-term hookups, maybe a little slightly longer term. They turn into friends with benefits. Maybe 1 or 2 of them turn into relationship. But the end result of it all is that she has a promiscuous past, and the ripe age of close to 35 or thereabouts, they go out in the world, usually on dating apps, very serious about their time on there. Don't waste my time. Swipe left if you're not ready for a family. A real man would. A lot of you guys have seen or heard some versions of this, and it's like, why would you pay more for a depreciated product as a guy when you can get a more valuable, useful product at a lower cost? And I'm going to translate that for you. A 30-something-year-old woman is an expensive proposition to most guys. She can't bring you a whole bunch of children. You might get 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky, depending on how old she is. You may or may not get lucky and end up with a child with developmental issues on the spectrum, developmental problems and things like that. Again, geriatric pregnancies, higher risk pregnancies to the child and the mother do exist after a certain age. So the cost to guys is much higher. Also, one of the benefits to guys, or one of the benefits in the past to coming together and having children at a much younger age, is the guy would sort of exchange his protection and his resources and that version of a marriage for a 20-year-old for a lifetime, or a pretty long stretch anyway, a decade or 2, or maybe a little bit longer, of beauty and fertility and youth and like all that sort of stuff. But all of that deteriorates very, very quickly for women when they hit the proverbial wall or menopause, and things start to go downhill for them very, very quickly. So a gal that's in her late 30s, I mean, guys, like, how many good years are you going to get versus a 20-something-year-old where you get a lot more time out of them and potentially a lot more children with a higher probability of successful pregnancies, no geriatric pregnancies, obviously, lower probability of developmental issues, healthier babies, healthier mom, all that sort of stuff. And of course, she's got more energy for all of it too. So I don't get the notion of guys running to women that are in their late 30s that have been partying through their youth, climbing the corporate ladder, all of a sudden to get serious now about having children or a family, when these very same guys, if they're on the top shelf anyway, are successful, competent, virtuous, good looking, all that sort of stuff, can get a gal in her 20s or even early 20s and do the very same thing with them and have even more kids that are going to be probably healthier, that she's got more time and energy to look after, versus the one that's older that's potentially going to have a lot more problems. It's just a very expensive proposition. Guys find themselves paying a lot more for something that isn't worth what she's selling it for. It's like a car drives off the lot, has 250,000 kilometers or miles on the clock, several owners, there's dinks and dents, a lot of the warning lights on the dashboard are on. It's like asking full MSRP for a brand new Ferrari when it's got 250,000 miles on it and it's depreciated, or it should have been depreciated, but the owner asking for full price. It just doesn't make sense. So these women often find themselves in a position where they almost price themselves out of the market, and top shelf men, or the top shelf men that they want anyway, don't really want them. But like, then it starts to raise the argument is, they get all mad and they make memes about stuff like this. They get all mad, like, the men that I want, they don't want me, sort of thing. And it's like, well, yeah, what did you expect? One of the things that I've noticed about guys that I talk to, especially my inner circle and the men that I've counseled, is that they have a strong repulsion or taste, if I can put it that way, for women that have been promiscuous. When it comes to a lover, sure, promiscuity is great for them. They love it. But when it comes to a wife or a mother, they are absolutely put off by it. And, we've seen this time and time again with guys leaving marriages or expressing a massive amount of contempt for a wife that they learn after the fact wasn't as pure as they sold themselves to be, had a highly promiscuous past that they hid or they tried to bury or something like that. One of the most interesting studies, which kind of ruined marriage for me, was the Teachman study. And I think when you overlay it on the Heritage study, I'm going to have my editor put up a picture of the actual charts. But essentially, they really just stopped bothering collecting the data after about a dozen sexual partners, a woman's past sexual partners, because it was just so bad. A virgin at the point of marriage has something like an 80% chance of having a successful marriage, being happy and all that sort of stuff. Whereas a woman that's had a promiscuous past and had more than a dozen sexual partners, I think the number goes down into the 30%. And that's a huge put off for guys. If they're given the option, why would they choose a woman that could potentially divorce rate them, take half their wealth, alienate them from their own children, versus a younger, more fertile, more agreeable, with less baggage? You see what I'm saying here, right? So I think that women need to be very, very careful about making this decision in their life to put off family, to climb corporate ladders, to be like a world traveler and promiscuous and all that sort of stuff. And this gal's a good looking gal. Like, you know, some people will argue in the comments, but subjectively, the vast majority of men would want to be intimate with that woman. She's pretty, she's got long blonde hair, she's got a nice set of ladies on her, sort of thing. The vast majority of guys would be more than happy to spend a night with her, plus make her the mother of her kids. But I think as time goes on and the more time she spends doing things that lowers her value, they're going to start to look at that as too expensive and an unjust proposition or unjust exchange of value between him and her. I remember a number of years ago, and I'll wrap up this video on this note, there was an old post in the early 2000s, maybe like 1999, when the internet just came up, and it was a gal, and it, you know, again, this is one of the things that hasn't changed. It was a gal that was complaining online about being in New York City in her late 30s, looking for finance type of bro to have a family with, and she couldn't understand why guys weren't interested in her. And there was a finance bro that chimed in. I'm going to try to find this back and forth because it's really good. I'll do a separate video on it. But the finance bro basically comes in and is like, why would I allocate my time, effort, and resources to a depreciated asset that's only going to continue to go down in value when I could take that and reallocate it to a better choice? He made some parallels to like investments and all that sort of stuff. But this is the conundrum that women don't acknowledge that they're in. It exists, it's real. Women's timeline is much shorter than men. And if we're being honest, if we use the medical professional's geriatric line in the sand of 35, if a woman's 20, 22 when she's done school, post-secondary, university, whatever it happens to be, she's got 8 years in her 20s, plus let's say another 5 years in her 30s to find Mr. Right and have a family. That really only gives her, if you take 2 to 3 years of in the dating phase to figure each other out before they have kids, maybe 2, 3, 4 maximum kicks at the can. Like she's got, let's say on average, 3 to 4 chances of finding the right guy to have a family with. And that's again, you're running out of runway. You think you have all the time in the world to get your aircraft off the ground to get to your destination, but the truth of the matter is, for almost all of these women, is they have less runway ahead of them than they think they do. So with that being said, what do you guys think? Leave a comment below. If you're a dude, you definitely want to check out the top pinned comments to have a look at my book, my community and stuff like that. If you're a gal, take this at heart. And fellas, if you got a sister or somebody that needs to see this video, send it over to them. I know it's not going to be what they want to hear, but the truth is cold and hard, and that's just the way that it is. We'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.